Thanks everyone for being on the call tonight. This is our TCA town hall. We do this maybe quarterly just to keep you guys informed about what the TCA is up to, and for this opportunity for you guys to ask questions about maybe what's going on and any concerns you might have. So I'm very excited that you guys are on the call, and if you're not able to join us tonight, thank you for viewing later on via recording. So anyway, I want to introduce you to our panel, which includes myself. I'm Dr. Alayna Pagnani-Gendron, your TCA president, and so honored to be here tonight. I have my vice president, Dr. Bill Lawson. Say hello.
Hi guys, thanks for tuning in tonight.
And then our secretary treasurer, Dr. Ryan Bailey.
Good evening, everyone. Glad to have y'all with us.
And our executive director, Kaira Tanwar. If you haven't met her, she has been our executive director probably for almost the past year, and she's been doing awesome. So make sure you get to meet her, and she's going to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. Kaira Tanwar, the executive director. Thank you for that intro. I'm really happy to be here with y'all this evening. Thank you for joining us.
We have Dr. Craig Benton. He's our governmental affairs department coordinator and a huge advocate of all things ACA and chiropractic positive. So welcome, Dr. Benton.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone.
And then we have our TCA lobbyist, Dr. Kaden Norton and Josh Massingill with Statecraft.
Caden's not a doctor, but we are glad to be here.
But I appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
And then Dr. John Blackwell, he is our legislative chairs committee chair.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here and excited to share with you guys some updates. So
he's also our District 2 state director and out of
Amarillo.
Amarillo. Okay, thank you. So we're going to kick it off. We're going to kick it off to our legislative update with our lobbyist and our legislative affairs committee chair.
All right, so I'm going to just kind of start real quickly. So our legislative committee, which is a pretty good sized committee, and then some additional people. We met in Houston on January 22nd, and I felt like we had an excellent meeting. We got to meet at Berquist Law Firm, allowed us to be able to meet in their facility, and we had a good day. We met from about 10 o'clock till about 4 o'clock that day, and discussed our legislative agenda per se coming up. We had a really good discussion. I felt like everybody participated very well. We had polled our members. Each of our districts had polled our members and requested some ideas as far as things that are affecting you in your offices, things that are affecting you with your patients, things that we may be able to address from a legislative perspective, and then as well as previous legislation that we've also kind of been through in the past. So the idea and the goal in that was to be able to have everybody at the table, have everybody be able to voice their opinions, and really give Statecraft, Josh and Kaden, an opportunity to really know where we are, to know what's important to us as chiropractors and know what's important to our patients. And then that way they can really take and streamline that and what they do and what they're good at, and make it benefit TCA as a whole. And that way we can all be on the same page together. We can all be pointing in the same direction, and that makes sure that we know our voices are heard in the state and really throughout our country. So really with that, without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Statecraft, to Josh and Kaden. For those of you, I'm sure most on the call know these guys. They are great. We are very fortunate to have them as our lobbyists. They are extremely knowledgeable about the way the matters in Austin work. They are very well connected, but they also really know chiropractic. They've been around it now for a while, and they've been to battle with us. And they have a passion for chiropractic also. And so I'm really honored to be able to work with these guys and see what we can do going forward with TCA. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to them and really let them give you the kind of nuts and bolts as far as the legislative updates concerned. So thank you.
Thank you for the kind words, Dr. Blackwell. Just before we dive in a little bit, I think I speak for Josh as well, but we really just enjoy being part of this team. This will be our, I guess, 4th session we're going into, and we just really enjoy it. Chiropractic family is just so awesome to be a part of. So thank you for letting us sort of be your voice at the Capitol. So yeah, as Dr. Blackwell mentioned, the legislative session won't begin until January of 2023. So we're a little less than a year out at this point. And so I know it probably feels like it's way too early to be talking about legislative issues, but because the legislative session is so short and so many bills are filed and the process is basically designed to kill bills, we've really got to have all our ducks in a row and have everything ready to go so that we have, zero or as few as possible hiccups that might derail some piece of our legislation. And so what we've been doing and what we'll continue to do over the next several months as we prepare for this upcoming legislative session is to research and vet these ideas, to continue to sharpen the arguments in favor of some of these pieces of legislation, but to continue to adapt as well. So as we work through some of these issues, particularly some that may be kind of novel for us and for TCA, we may learn, little details within insurance law or the interaction between federal and state law on some of these issues, and it may sort of alter our course on these. But we wanted to talk a little bit just to kind of give you a sense of some of the things that we're going to be working on in this upcoming legislative session. So obviously last session we had the huge victory at the Supreme Court with the neurological issue. And so that kind of cleared up some bandwidth for us. Super exciting, kind of gives us a little bit more runway for how we approach this upcoming session. There still is one sort of legal hurdle in the way, though, at the moment related to acupuncture. And so, there are a lot of issues that most issues that TCA sort of gets to choose what they want to pursue as far as legislation goes. Sometimes things are basically dumped in our laps, and that's kind of how it is with this acupuncture issue. So if you're not familiar, the Texas Association of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine has brought a lawsuit against the TBCE concerning whether chiropractors can perform acupuncture within the scope of chiropractic. And so we are working on legislation to address that, to clarify that, yes, chiropractors can perform acupuncture within the scope of chiropractic with, the requisite training as defined by the board. And so that's obviously one of the biggest things we're going to be working on. There have been some surveys done, I think, by TBCE and others, just about how many chiropractors do acupuncture as a modality within their practice. And the numbers are really large. And for those that do it, it's a significant portion of their practice. And so we want to make sure that we clarify within statute, make crystal clear, so that, like the nerve issue, this doesn't have to go all the way to the Supreme Court before we get final resolution on it. So yeah, and I think Dr. Pagnani mentioned, and Kaira, I think, mentioned at the outset, if you've got any questions, before I get too far down the path, if you've got any questions, feel free to type them in that Q&A portion, or you can type them in the chat, I guess, as well, and we can circle back on those. But anyway, so if you have any questions about anything we're talking about, feel free to type that there. A couple other things we're working on. So the work comp system has been in need of some reform for a while now, both on on the designated doctor side as well as the treating doctor side. So related to the designated doctor program, we had a bill last session that it actually passed the House, didn't make it all the way through, that I think we're probably going to be revisiting this session, which would bring sort of up to date the fee schedule, among other things, but bring up to date the fee schedule for designated doctors. That schedule hasn't been updated in many years, in some cases coming up on 2 decades. And just due to things like inflation, it becomes less and less appealing every year for a chiropractor or any physician to be a designated doctor. And so that's something we'll be looking at. We also worked on legislation last session that would have better clarified the roles of the various healthcare provider boards, specifically making sure that if for example, the medical board gets a complaint about a chiropractor or an optometrist or a dentist, they ought to refer that case to the chiropractor or optometry dental board, respectively, to make sure that those cases are handled with expediency, but also to get a good outcome, because those boards are really the experts on what those various professions ought to be doing. So that's something we're looking at that we hope to address this legislative session. Another issue that was brought to us by a doc down in the Corpus Christi area is related to who can serve as an expert witness in a chiropractic malpractice case on the question of causation. So we found this sort of oddity in the law where in a malpractice suit against a chiropractor, a chiropractor can serve as the expert witness on whether the chiropractor deviated from the standard of care, but they can't sort of take the next step and weigh in on whether that deviation from the standard of care caused the alleged injury. So only a physician can do that. That's kind of a discrepancy in the law. Other healthcare providers do have that ability. And so we want to clean that up to make sure if a chiropractor is in the unfortunate circumstance where they've got a malpractice case against him, one of their peers is able to weigh on whether what they did caused the alleged injury. And then to just touch on a few other things that are seeming to rise up the legislative ladder for TCA. So working on things, a few sessions ago, we had some success working on limiting opioid prescriptions for acute pain. But that sort of was the end of that reform, is specifically on opioids. So we're looking at possibly doing something to direct or require providers to refer patients out to conservative care if they've got that. So basically, rather than just say, here's your opioid prescription, and here's some information about conservative care that you ought to look into to address your ailment. So basically setting people up for longer term success when they're experiencing pain. Working on some issues, as I mentioned, with workers' comp on the treating doctor side. There's some pre-authorization rules that when you get really down into the details, really set chiropractors and physical therapists as well, put them into a difficult situation where they can be providing care and potentially don't get compensated for it. And so we want to make sure that doesn't continue to happen, so that doctors and physical therapists continue to be encouraged to take on work comp patients. Working on some credentialing reform issues. So we've heard there are a lot of challenges with basically the timeline specifically for docs to get in network to get credentialed. So looking at some reforms for that. And then last is one you've probably heard us mention before. It's been an ongoing issue related to UIL student athletes. So there are several sort of components to how a student athlete who experiences a concussion is handled. And so we've had some success on this issue in the past, and we're thinking about coming back sort of for another bite at the apple to continue to expand chiropractors' participation in that process. So to allow a chiropractor to serve on the school district concussion oversight teams to make sure that the chiropractic perspective and more importantly, the students' overall health really can benefit from that chiropractic perspective. So that's kind of obviously a lot I just threw at you, but that's sort of high level, some of the things that we're working on, some of the things that we may be getting legislation filed on in this upcoming session. I do want to say we've been, as Dr. Blackwell mentioned, we've been soliciting ideas from y'all for the past few months. If something does come up in the next month or two, there's still time for us to modify our legislative agenda and sort of bring up some other issues. So if there's something going on in your practice or something you're seeing your patients experiencing, please don't hesitate to reach out to your TCA district directors, to Tara or Dr. Alayna, any of the folks on this call. We're happy to look into these issues, and again, just appreciate the opportunity to be here. So I'll pass it over to Dr. Blackwell and to Josh because I've been talking too much. But anything I missed, y'all?
We do have one question from Dr. Phillips. Will the acupuncture case only affect acupuncture, or will dry needling be lumped in?
That's so my understanding is the acupuncture lawsuit is specifically pertains to acupuncture, but we've been talking about whether, as acupuncture and dry needling, as far as the, I'm over my head over here, but as far as the actual just, use of the needle, they're very similar. very sort of similar practices, that there may be an opportunity for us to address on the legislative side both issues at once, to clarify that, there's acupuncture and that's authorized for chiropractors. And also we know that there are chiropractors who do dry needling. But as far as the litigation side, Josh or anyone, feel free to correct me, but my understanding is that is limited specifically to acupuncture for chiropractors.
I guess the one caveat would be, if a ruling were to come, a court opinion were to be handed down, it might be very broad and expansive and cover things other than acupuncture, or it might be sort of narrowly confined. So it's just hard to know what the courts will do. But that's one of the reasons that, we're definitely fighting that battle at the courts, but we're not completely reliant on him to rescue us. We also, want to pursue a legislative fix for that reason. So. One other thing we should probably just touch on briefly that Kaden didn't really get to is electoral stuff. So as Kaden mentioned, we're about a year out before session begins and the policy that sort of starts to come into focus, but election season is already in full swing. We have primary elections that are taking place on March 1st. Early voting starts here in a couple of days, I think on Valentine's Day, February 14th. So you can start early voting. This is going to be a really interesting cycle because there's so much turnover in the Texas legislature. So as of right now, and the list sort of continues to grow, but something like 25 members of the House and about 5 senators, state senators, are not running for re-election, to their current seats. So when you sort of do the math, that means that about 1/6 of the legislature will be completely new, probably. So that's a really high amount of turnover. And what it means for us, sort of on a practical level, is we're going to have our work cut out for us, educating these folks that get, elected, helping them understand our issues, and just kind of get the lay of the land. So we're looking forward to that, but there will definitely be a lot of turnover. In terms of PAC activity, TCA's Political Action Committee has met a couple of times. We've made some endorsements of candidates. We will likely make more. At this point, the candidates that have been endorsed are primarily incumbents and strong chiropractic supporters. In general, we don't play in the primary races too much, where you've got a 6-way Republican primary. TCA historically has not really weighed in on those races. So as the primary season kind of wraps up, I think you can probably expect the PAC to make some more endorsements. And I guess in terms of takeaways for individual docs who may be on this call kind of wondering what they can do, I'd say there's sort of 2 things that are on the docket right now. One is meet your candidates. So there are all kinds of opportunities right now for you to get out in the community and to kind of rub elbows with some of these people running for office. A lot of them would gladly take a meeting with you if you ask for it. So I'd encourage you to either attend an event or try to get to know some of these candidates, talk to them about chiropractic issues. Go ahead and start that process of educating them. If you learn anything interesting, and feel free to reach out and let us know. We always like gathering intel like that, but go ahead and meet your candidates, because lobbying is important, but this grassroots type of lobbying that individual doctors do is also very, very important. So that's one thing. And the other thing, and I think we'll talk more about this in a little bit, not to spoil the surprise, but we do need PAC funds. So donations to the PAC are going to be critical. It takes money to do some of the things that we want to do. So we do welcome donations to the PAC. And then later, as the election season kind of gets more into full swing, the PAC will probably be facilitating a number of campaign events where we have meet and greets with candidates. Last cycle, we had to do a lot of that virtually, not nearly as fun, but very efficient. So we'll see what the plan is this year, but there will be some events that we'll be hosting. So be on the lookout for those things. And those are some ways that you can kind of help right now with some of the things that we're doing on the political front. So that's all I have, Dr. Blackwell.
That's all I have too.
Wonderful. Thank you all for the update. And again, if anyone has questions, please put them in the chat or in the Q&A, and we're happy to answer them along the way. You can see here, thank you to our PAC contributors. Also, please, please, please donate. This is our big fundraiser push that we're putting in right now, just because it's so important that we fundraise for the people who will support our bills this upcoming legislative session. I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Benton, who's going to fill us in on an ACA update.
So we've been tasked to try to get more co-sponsors for our Medicare modernization bill out of Texas. This is federal. This is different from where Josh and Kaden and John just talked about. This is Washington, D.C. As you know, our Medicare bill was passed in 1972, 50 years ago, and it's never been updated. It's never been modernized. And it's hard. That's why it's been 50 years since this has happened. But we're trying to get our congressmen to co-sponsor these bills. We've got 4 from Texas right now, maybe a 5th. Tomorrow, Tice Hergert and I are meeting with Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne's health aide to see if we can get them on board. And so this is just, we just got to keep plugging away. It gets frustrating at times because they just want us to go away. That's what they're hoping that we do. But I mean, if we give up, then the opposition wins. We just got to keep plugging away, calling them, asking them to co-sponsor, not taking no for an answer, always being respectful. And something that we really haven't used, our strongest asset is our patients. And they don't have to be a Medicare patient to call the congressman and say, hey, can you co-sponsor this? Medicare is a tax. Everybody that works pays that tax. So you have a say-so in how these taxes are spent. So anybody can get on that phone and say, hey, can we please have you co-sponsor this bill? So anybody has any questions, feel free to write me or call or ask. If you've got a relationship with your congressperson, let us know. We can help you out with that. We can get on Zoom meetings, phone calls, whatever with you, and just walk through the whole thing with you. So, but right now we got to get more co-sponsors. That's what's needed. I'm going to say probably ACA wants to have 200, and I'm going to say probably going to have them by the summer. We've got 116 right now, so we still have a ways to go.
And Dr. Benton, don't we have a big virtual day on the Hill for ACA?
Yes.
Coming up? Yes. So we need everyone to register. To talk to Zoom calls and stuff like that with the staff for Congress up in Washington, D.C. on the 24th. And they're just going to be targeting Congress people that have not co-sponsored. So we're just going after the people that we need to get co-sponsored on this thing. Wonderful.
I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Thank you so much. I will say Dr. Benton has done a phenomenal job trying to get people involved with ACA and this Medicare bill passed. So please, please, please get involved. And I mean, even if you can't do a whole bunch, if you can at least register for the virtual day on the Hill, to contact your congressperson, to have them sign this, it would be so huge, not in just the sense of like Texas, but federally, like world, like nationwide. So please get involved in that. Okay, and then I'm so excited now to introduce our Vice President, Dr. Lawson, and our Secretary Treasurer, Dr. Bailey. We're going to give us a brief update on our strategic plan. We had talked about this on our last town hall, so we just want to fill you in on what has been updated in the last couple of months.
All righty. I'll take off first, Dr. Lawson. So our first goal of our strategic plan was to update our website. Sure, if y'all have surfed the TCA website recently, it's antiquated. It is outdated. It's not user friendly. And so our main goal was to redesign the website, to have a better platform, better interface, and basically we wanted a more user friendly and easier to navigate website. So speaking with Kaira, our executive director, we're getting close to having this completed. They've been working diligently with the website vendor, making these big updates, getting some of the final touches going, but the planning with midwinter has kind of slowed it down. So we are hoping to go live with the new website in the next 1 to 2 months. So everybody stay tuned.
All right, moving on to second part of that strategic plan is higher reimbursement from the insurance carriers. So we're looking at outside sources to help us with this, with using strategic partners to help negotiate better reimbursement for what it is that we do. This is an ongoing process. We've been working on it for a while. It happens very slowly. Change is hard to occur in that arena, but it's looking favorable as we march along. Part of what we're looking at is not just a higher reimbursement, but also removing some of the limitations that are given on us. There's two different ways that we're approaching it. One of them is not to get too detailed about ERISA and non-ERISA plans, but if it is a plan that is self-funded by an employer, you've heard me say this many times, if you have any contacts within a business that employs or insures their employees, if we could get through to the person at that business to demonstrate to them how effective we are as chiropractors at getting their employees back at work and staying healthy in the workplace for a lower expense than what our medical community can do with the MD/PT plan of care. We'd be happy to knock on the door and meet those people and see if we can work through that avenue. For the plans that are 16-17% of the insurance plans in Texas that are administered by the carriers themselves, that's where we're looking to use our strategic partners to help open some doors there. Next item listed is membership, and I'll pass this one back to Dr. Bailey.
Well, one of our goals with the strategic plan was to be at 20% membership by January of 22, and we have not hit that mark. Our TCA staff has been working through a lot of kinks, working through some of the old system, and finding that some of the doctors that were on the membership list are not members, or they're students or friends, affiliates, so-and-so. And so our number as of today is actually right around 16%. So, you know, our main goal is, I mean, we're a membership driven organization. If we don't have members, we don't survive. And so please talk to your friends, your colleagues, your associates. Let's get everyone to become a member. Let's push this organization so we have the ability to do what we want to do with chiropractic in Texas.
Thank you so much. I just want to reiterate how important membership is. I mean, this is huge. Every single chiropractor in Texas needs to be a member of the TCA. You can get your patients to be a member, you can get your family members to be a member, but the more members we have, the more positive change we can make to help our patients. So that's so huge to our association. Thank you, Dr. Lawson and Dr. Bailey, for our strategic plan update. Really, you guys, once the website is up, I think you're going to be very impressed on how it's going. We're going to have a landing page for patients to visit and just learn about chiropractic. So just be informed, be involved, and stay up to date on what's happening. And so again, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat or the Q&A. And we're going to move on to our Executive Director, Kaira Tanwar. Just give us an update on the upcoming events that are happening.
Hi, everybody. I just should have thought about giving y'all a screenshot of what the new website looks like and just probably put a side-by-side image of what the current website looks like versus the new one. And we're definitely going in the right direction with that. So I can't wait to launch that with everybody. Just the upcoming events, our bigger events this year, Midwinter Conference is just next week, February 18th through the 20th. The registration does close on the 13th. We do have space still left live. And of course, we are offering it virtually. So if you can't make it to Lubbock, still join us virtually, but everything does close on the 13th. So definitely get your registration in. And then Chiro Texpo is the big event, June 10th through 12th. So definitely get those on your calendars. We will have that registration open in March. As soon as midwinter closes out, we will launch that registration, and I'm sure you'll get an email with that information in your inbox as soon as it's ready. Of course, we still offer CE and whatnot throughout the year, and we're looking at other events hosting, and just we'll have those announced as we get closer to those dates. So always feel free to reach out to our office if you have any questions about our events, membership, advocacy. That's what we're here for. And just chirotexas.org is where we need to go.
Thank you so much, Kaira. Again, I would just want to reiterate 3 points of, our call today, or about our association. One is membership. Get involved, be a member, get your friends to be a member, get your colleagues to be a member. Second is donations. We need CDI donation, and PAC donation is huge right now. And third is just advocacy. Advocate for yourself as a chiropractor, advocate for your patients, and just get involved and stay informed. And we appreciate all of you guys being on this call tonight, as well as the ones who are viewing it later on. Again, if you have questions, put them in the chat. This is your last chance, or the Q&A. And if you didn't make it on this call and you have a question or a concern, you can also email the TCA office or reach out to myself or Kaira or any of the exec directly. And we love you guys. So I hope to see you all in person at midwinter in Lubbock. It's going to be cold there. But then if you want a hot, event, we'll be in Texpo in June. So it'll be great. We have some great speakers coming up. And I think that's all. Kaira, you want to end it on anything?
Can I say one thing?
Please do.
I had a text from a doctor, and they're correct. We need everybody to sign up for ACA Legislative Day with the Zoom calls, because the more people we have on the Zoom call, the better off we look. We don't want 1 or 2 on there only. We'd like to have a full page of Zoom people on these calls. That makes it just look a lot better for us too. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Dr. Benton, where do they register for the Zoom call?
ACA was, Kaira, did we have that up there? Yeah.
Yes, it's the acatoday.org.
Yeah, so you're going to have to go find virtual day on the Hill. And I think we just need people to sign up for this thing. We need as many as we can. Please sign up.
Oh, and the date was February 24th. I saw what question come in for that.
Which
Wonderful.
I believe is a Thursday.
Yes, I believe so too. Okay, execs, any last words?
I'm going to post that in the chat here, the link to ACA.
Great, thank you.
There you go. So if anybody wants to copy that real quick.
Lobbyist, do you have any last words?
Just thank you guys for being on this. And again, just to reiterate, thank you guys for allowing us to be your voice of the Capitol.
And our legislative chair? All good?
No, I'm again, just, as we gear up more in the next year, number one, I think stay involved, stay apprised of what elections are happening in your areas. If you have questions about candidates potentially, make sure and contact us, and because we're definitely going to have a plan about what we're doing regarding those candidates and who we may be supporting and who we may need to be, a little bit more cautious with and some of those kinds of issues. There's obviously some politics that goes into that. And then, obviously, as we gear up for our session, they mentioned it earlier, but the biggest thing is a lot of times the PAC contributions are huge, and we'll have some different events in each district with regard to PAC events and such. And so those are things that I would look forward to attend, talk to your state directors about, when those are coming up, and they can get in touch with you and make sure that when those are going to be. So we get the most support that we can, so we can show the candidates and the people that are involved in this that we are, we may be not super big, but we are very mighty and we are very united, and that we have a really good agenda for what we need to do to help the people and the patients that we serve every day. So anyway, that's all I got. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again, everyone, for being on the call. Thank you for all of our TCA team for being on this call to share all the knowledge and info about TCA. And again, we're looking forward to seeing you at Midwinter and then at TechSpell. And any questions or concerns, please email the TCA office and we will be in touch soon. Thanks, everyone.